Let's rewind to the very beginning, before we went to file 1. So before file 1, we had said there were 3 existential ways that we could do this problem from first principles. One was rotating the smile, one was mirroring the smile, and one was drawing a new smile. Now that we've gone through the first 6 questions, let's kind of just recap. We've made a conscious effort to do the problem in a certain way. And the way that we've done the problem is we've started by inspecting the data and try to understand exactly what is in each file. That's a key point of chapter 1, is to really grasp what has been given to you. So let's just stop at this point and review in general. So file 1 was 3 circles and an arc. File 2 was the same, 3 circles and an arc. File 3 was a block with 3 circles and an arc inside of it. File 4 was 3 circles and a line. File 5 was 3 circles and 2 semi-arcs, let's say. And file 6 was about 1,000 faceted, or 1,000 lines, was the data that represented the smiley face. Now, we made a very conscious decision, that's why this is underlined. We said, let's roll at first with, let's just pick one of these and go with it. This isn't about being very clever about the algorithm that we use, just about learning, let's say in this situation, Grasshopper and Dynamo. And we've decided to use Grasshopper off initially. So we've used for 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, we've used the algorithm 1, which is the rotate. But for algorithm, for 4, we had to use algorithm 3, because we had already deemed that algorithm 2, which was the mirror, and rotate were not going to be valid for kind of what we needed to do for that particular problem, which is fair enough. So we already know that these guys will not be able to, number 4 will not be able to have something that deals with mirroring and rotating. So really the question becomes is how does our algorithm that we've developed, if we took out the one portion of the script that dealt with rotation, how would that change the overall workflow that we had? And to see the impact of not only the data that you've been provided. So right now we've seen very well the impact that the data that has been provided can have on your algorithm. Equally, let's take another look at what your initial selection from here, how that impacts your algorithm in general. So let's choose to go backwards now and say, let's go back to file 1 and let's do it using algorithm 2 now. So recalling that file 1, our original scheme for doing file 1, recognized very early on that the input was, from first principles, it was a face, which is made up of an outer profile, a mouth, and eyes. So let's just kind of remind ourselves of that. First principles, a face, object itself is I1, I2, mouth, and an outer profile. That's the first principles of the problem. And in as the input for file 1, we had already said that we had a curve that corresponded to each one of these types of things, So the mouth was represented by an arc, and everything else was represented by via a piece of geometry that was a circle, So there was a list of information that was provided for us, and we had determined that the main 2 steps were select the mouth and then rotate the mouth. And we went down a whole series of rabbit holes to determine how best to determine how to do that. What was the best move in order for us to be able to effectively rotate that mouth. And it ended up looking something, just looking for it now. It ended up looking something like basically grabbing this point so that we could do the 180 rotation about that point. So that was the crux of the situation. So if the original algorithm, and again, the output in this situation is not going to change, is the algorithm now is still going to be based off of step 1, select the mouth. Yeah. And remember, this is the first stab at the algorithm. And step 2 is near the mouth. Okay, so that's version 1 of the algorithm, and we know that that's actually just taking in as a very high level of how the algorithm works. It's not really specific yet. So how do we deal with making this a bit better, right? So version 2, we start to understand a little bit more how the data works, and again, it's an issue of we're going to go to Grasshopper now and get a little bit inspired by how we do that, what tools are available for us to be able to do this operation, and is this algorithm here as it stands right now specific enough for us to do our job.